So renewing all of that, best of luck, by the way. That's gonna be I'm sure that's gonna be quite you also said you were getting a manager as well for that
Yeah,
location, something to that
yeah,
effect?
yeah. We're trying to do management for just about
Right.
everything.
Yeah.
Um, and that's the neat project in of itself. We're doing, I've outsourced a manager for about 40 of my 138.9. When the trailer park's done, there's definitely going to be management at play in there. And then the management stuff's going to be in play. And then I'm trying to train an internal management team to deal with this stuff. I've got all these ideas and desires to do these bigger, high level projects that I normally couldn't take the risk on without the YouTube money.
Right.
I've got I really have the desire to build a house from the ground up. I've never seen
Oh,
anybody build a house for the purpose of renting it out. I've seen people renovate houses
right.
for the purpose of renting them out. I've seen people build houses on YouTube just to live in. I've never seen anybody do a building new development just for the purpose of renting it out. I've never seen, I so far have not seen anybody go from start to finish for Airbnb. I've never seen anybody do some of these more in-depth finance type stuff. I've never seen anybody go. This is kind of one of the secret things I've got going on. I have a friend that's trying to buy a rundown factory, a factory that actually makes stuff. And he has asked me to come on board with his management team, kind of like as a board member type deal, to see if we can resurrect a factory in Southern Ohio that makes neat stuff. And so I said, I will help you. I will help you with everything that I have. I just want to showcase the actual numbers because I get a lot of people and they say, I've never seen anybody actually talk about how much money a laundromat makes. I've never seen anybody talk about what's the cost for, and it has nothing to do with the business. How much does a plastic injection molding facility cost to run? How much does a plastic widget cost? For years here in my town, the little multifunction button that sits on iPhones and iPads, the little center button, that coating is done in my town. They send the wiring harnesses out of Michigan. They come down here on trains. They offload them on the trains. They put them in this machine. They run them through the machine. I've been told it costs less than 1/2 of a cent to do that coating on the iPhone. Then they package it up and then they ship them out to California. They do another assembly process and then they ship them over to China for final assembly and mating with the boards and things of that nature. And I've always thought, well, how much would it cost to run a factory? How much would it cost to do something like that? Because it's, in my opinion, there's all these factories, or at least what I see here in Southern Ohio, there's all these factories and businesses that are being run by baby boomers and then even some of the World War II generation. And they have to get rid of those businesses. And at least here in Southern Ohio, a lot of those companies have just been shuttered. I run into a lot of really neat. There's a factory that made wood flooring. It's Timberwolf. And they're a really big brand. They're carried at Lowe's. They're carried at Home Depot, Menards, those kinds of places. One of the big factories was in Southern Ohio. They just closed down. Had nothing to do with the profit margin, had nothing to do with the viability of the business. The guy got tired and said, I don't want the money anymore. And he could not find a freaking soul in that entire county to just come in and take the factory over. And so we have this complaint and this issue with people saying, oh, these factories are getting shut down. Talking to the factory managers and the factory owners, people don't want them. And I'm working with this guy on the books for this factory. Back in 2006, they were bringing in $6.5 million a year in product sales. Their net was between $1.2 and $1.3 million. If my friend gets the factory, he's getting it for $20,000 down, and the seller's financing $380,000. Factory, real estate, business name, the whole kit and caboodle, $400K. And he's taking on this risk to buy a factory that last year, the sales in 05, 06 was their high water mark at $6.5 million in revenue. Last year, the sales were $120,000 making the same product. And the sales guy died. The one of the technical operators died. One of the truck drivers died. All the people that were passionate about the project, that knew what they were doing, died, and all we have left is the forklift driver or the die press operator. And
Right.
my buddy's like, I can run these machines. I can hire to do the people. I said, well, you give a couple people $100,000 a year in Southern Ohio, you'll probably get done whatever you need done.
Oh
But
yeah. Oh yeah.
it's one of those things where it's just like, I want to showcase this is what's happening in the world. And if you are a millennial or a Gen Z, you have the opportunity to go out and take some of this wealth that's sitting out there literally just falling apart. Those factories have had value. The value is depreciating a little every year because people are losing their passion and their desire to get stuff done.
Right.
So
I agree. There's a unsustainable sort of trend at the moment, and it's so odd because entrepreneurship is cool right now, right? Like it's in the media, it's in the world, it's entrepreneurship is cool, but at the same time, there's this sort of narrative of, oh yeah, but we don't make things. Making things is inefficient. So we don't make things. We just use ones and zeros. And it's like that only lasts so long, and then there aren't things anymore. Now we have a problem. And it's I think it could be much easier for us to move towards that than we realize.
Yeah. And I want to address a question that's coming in on your chat, not my chat. And I want to go into this factory because I love the stupid factory thing.
Sure.
It makes a product cannot be imported from China. It cannot be imported from India because it is the way that it's packaged. It would be akin to importing, let's say, potatoes from. Oh my goodness! Someone's calling me on Google Voice. That's weird. Oh. As long as that house isn't on fire, we'll be okay. So like it's a bulk product. It's not worth a lot of money. So importing it and paying for shipping doesn't make any sense whatsoever. The main product, my buddy made 5 phone calls and figured out how to get the primary ingredient in the product for free. All he has to do is drive to a downline company, show up with semis, and just pick it up with a Bobcat or a Caterpillar or whatever. So there's no competition from China and India. It's technically not possible. The input costs are almost non-negligible. It comes down to the real estate, the equipment to actually manufacture the products, and then the knowledge. From my perspective, 80% of the business is up here. It's mental. It's not even physical. It's connecting the dots between product suppliers, primary feedstocks, logistics as far as shipping it from one of the places he talked to was in West Virginia, transporting it to Southern Ohio, and then selling it to the large distribution facilities downstream in Indianapolis. He's got a product purchaser in Cleveland and one in Cincinnati. So all the whole thing is just up here in his mind. My buddy's 36 years old, and to me, it's like a home run. And he is doing everything within his power to get the business off the ground, get it financed, get local banks on board, which they would have all been sold on this idea with the exception of coronavirus, because now they're scared to death. A lot of the local lenders are just kind of doing it. So even though this business is a home run, there's minimal input, minimal competition from China foreign sources, it's still a difficult thing to get all the pieces to work together. Especially for someone like him that has never dealt with bank finance. They've never done with investors. They've never, this was the first business plan he'd ever done. He's never done an in-depth spreadsheet where he can do cost segregation and he can punch in, I've bought 50 semi-loads of product this week. We've shipped it in. This is my cost per truckload. The dies are XYZ cost, and then he depreciates it and includes debt service and all this stuff. I only have one camera here, Will. So
back to looking at the numbers.
Yeah. There is a great YouTube channel called Company Man, and I assume a lot of people are familiar with this channel. and he goes through one of his series is the rise and fall of companies, going through their history, their public earnings to talk about how they've done. And one of the biggest things, if you watch those videos, to just get a brief summary of large companies, is that the changing of hands, right? CEO to CEO makes a massive difference, right?
Yeah.
This isn't like the red tape we see in like politics where, passing the guard, it takes a long time to get changes through. Not in a company, right? A CEO comes in and a lot of shit can get done very quickly and really out of left field, even when you don't expect it. So, your friend taking this on, so long as the vision is there and the actual business model lines up to be profitable, this is the main difference from going from a 6.5 year to a 100,000 year, as that company did.
Yeah.
So I definitely think it's feasible. And it's also about the risk. I'm sure that company probably didn't change much of how they operated that whole time. And as the world changed, they probably didn't.
Yeah, that's the a lot of those companies haven't been just not innovated, but just updated. I don't know. I always laugh when I think about the story of the Boring Company that Elon Musk did. And it's like he bought an ordinary boring machine and then just put new things on it. And then all of a sudden he had the most innovative boring company on earth. I mean, and yes, he had brilliant people working on it, of course. But that concept, I think, applies to a ton of businesses where we there's a generation gap that for people to come in on is a different generation and be willing to get on the ground with those projects. Just updating to the modern world can turn into an edge.
Yes. And that's where I think there's I love the fact that a lot of people are getting interested in entrepreneurship, getting in the hustle mindset. To me, it makes me so happy and so excited of what can happen in the future. But the thing that concerns me just a lot, and it's what I want to do with my social media, one of the big lofty goals out there is to really try and get people motivated into the sense of, okay, this is a longer term project. I also have to learn connected fields. And then, my struggle, I need to figure out how to use the human resources here to achieve these goals. Elon Musk is one of my absolute biggest heroes. And, I follow all the companies he does. And, I watched Battery Day, which was on my birthday this year. And Elon was one of the things he said, and I'm like, did anybody hear him say that? And I talked to all these people and they said, I don't know, what was he talking about? He said, he had this quote, and I'm sure I'm butchering it at this point. He said, we are at a point with climate change, global warming, energy, the future of energy on the globe, where no government can solve it, and unlimited amounts of money cannot solve the problem either. The only people that can solve this essentially are business people and engineers. And I've asked all these people, I said, did you hear that? Did you pay attention to that? Well, I don't understand. He's talking about, I have some friends that are like, he's talking about global warming. So I shut it off. And then I asked that same question to another person today, and they said, he's a right winger. I'm not going to listen to him either. And I said, do you understand that these kinds of problems that are facing humanity are only going to be solved when you start spending time on figuring out all of the connected fields that have to be addressed to solve the issue? And it's like, I was reading about their Maxwell energy patent and how they're making the tabless 4850 battery. It's like a freaking pop can, like one of those 8-ounce.
It's incredibly. Oh my God.
Yeah. The drink can. It's a fat little round cell that's tabless. And I was someone was telling me about the tabless technology that they purchased the patent off for Maxwell. And essentially it's a battery that doesn't heat up. And it's like, why did it take this freaking one guy to figure this out? Because heat transfer and heat issues are a 20 to 30 year insurmountable problem that they can't solve with batteries. So they're just going to fix it with running piping through the batteries and active cooling arrays. And that adds weight and obscene cost to the vehicle. And not only did this one guy figure out how to address the heat issue, he's also figured out a way to do it for, I think they said they're going to drop the cost from $200 per kilowatt hour of storage. The first stage is going to be 75. Second stage is going to be 50. The third stage is like $35 a kilowatt hour. And they said, then we're going to stick there. And you start figuring out the math on that. And it's like, oh, this is a revolutionary step in the entire energy of the future that one guy put it all together.